It's not a game, it's a race.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So glad to see you guys again. Today I'm going to be discussing the new movie on Netflix called Love Hard. It's starring Nina Dobrev and Jimmy Yang. So actually I first saw like a little poster of this movie on Netflix the other day, and I just saw Nina Dobrev's face and I'm like, okay, my girl Nina Dobrev, she's doing new things. Like, you know, I love Vampire Diaries. I like seeing her. So anything that Nina Dobrev is doing, I'm watching. Not really, but you know what I mean? But you know, I wasn't too sold on it because she kind of like, she'd been in some like not so good movies before, so I was like, all right, whatever. Nina Dobrev, good job, you do your thing, but I'll pass on this one. But I'm on Netflix today, and then I see another poster with Jimmy Yang's face, and I'm like, oh shit, Jimmy Yang, like, I like him, he's a pretty funny dude. So I'm like, okay, let me click on this poster, let me see what's going on for this movie. And then I read the synopsis. It's about like a catfishing story, and I was like, Nina Dobrev, Jimmy Yang, catfishing story, I'm in. I'm so. And thus I just finished watching the Love Hard movie, and I have some concerns. I have some thoughts that I need to express. I have some grievances, if you will. But let me get out of the way first, like my thoughts on the movie. I actually liked the movie. Like, I really enjoyed the movie, surprisingly. The first maybe 10 or so minutes, like, I was ready to get on here and start tearing the movie up and start talking shit. But I mean, I did have some gripes, like the jokes, like, first of all, like, anyway, before I start talking about my gripes, I enjoyed the movie. Some people say that they don't like that. I'm not gonna give us. Some people say that they don't like the ending and they don't like the messages. That you know, actually, I'm gonna spoil it. Fuck it, don't watch this video if you haven't seen the movie. But some people said that they didn't like that Nina ended up with I forgot his character's name. They ended up together because, you know, catfishing shouldn't be like reward or whatever. I mean, like, I guess, but like, that's not really like the point of it. Because remember, like, yes, he did catfish, but at the same time, like, Nina was the one who came. Like, he didn't invite Nina. Nina came out of, like, to surprise him. So, like, you know, like, it was never the intention to really meet. So, I mean, yes, he did catfish and it's a bad thing, but like, anyway, I'm not trying to justify catfishing, but like, you know what I mean? And I personally didn't find it creepy or weird that they ended up together. Like, I think it was unrealistic, but it was quite like natural how they did it together. Like, because obviously, like, he already said, like, you like me for who I am, you like me as a person. Yeah, I'm not like, I don't look the way that you thought I looked, but like, you like me. And I like that she kind of like was able to like realize, yeah, I actually do like the dude, and maybe he's the guy I'm looking for. I'm sorry if it's noisy, I'm sorry. So I actually like that. I thought it was like heartwarming. Like, we don't get enough like romantic comedy movies like that anymore, like these days. Anything else I liked? Yeah, I liked it. And plus we got some representation. Like, you know, good representation is always good, or at the very least neutral representation is always good. So I like to see it. But I'm gonna touch on representation later. Anyway, let me get into a little gripe I had about the movie. First of all, the jokes were lame as shit. I was kind of surprised that the jokes were so corny because Jimmy Yang is such a funny comedian. But I don't know who wrote the jokes, but they're not very good. Like, they're very like, not low hanging fruit, but just corny. Just like played out like these jokes could have been like 3-4 years ago. One joke was they were talking about the Christmas song, "Baby It's Cold Outside," and Nina's character, she referenced, oh, like, it's about like it's about like rape or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, yeah, it's true, but like, we talked about this like years ago. Like, this is like an old conversation. Or I can't remember the details now, but many of the jokes came out to me like, okay, like, you stole this from like Twitter, like, you stole this, like, it's not original. Like, nothing that was said in this movie was like original. It was just kind of, the jokes were mostly corny, they were mostly cheesy and played out. So I didn't care for that, but it didn't really detract from the movie. Like, it was still a feel good movie and I enjoyed it. But anyway, that's like the fluff. Let's get down to the meat and potatoes of this video. My big gripe about Love Hard. Have you noticed that there's no Asian women in this movie? Like, there's no young Asian women in this movie. Have you, like, did you peep that? If you watch the movie, the reason why, like, you know, like, I'm very sensitive to noticing that kind of stuff. Like, I like to notice, like, okay, is there any black people in this TV show? Is there like any minorities like in this TV show or this movie? I notice that kind of stuff. So I'm already on the lookout for like any sus shit that these writers and like these directors are up to and these producers are up to. So imagine my surprise when I'm watching this movie with like a predominantly Asian cast and there's no like young Asian women in this movie. Let me explain to you why I thought that was so weird. So starting from when Nina's character, what's her name? Natalie. When Natalie arrives to Jimmy's house, we first meet the mother, who is a white lady, and I'm like, okay, she's a white lady, all right. And then we meet the father, who is an Asian man. Oh, by the way, did you guys notice how when the Natalie and her friend in the beginning of the movie were talking about like the when they saw the hot guy's profile on like the fake Tinder? Did you notice how like the friend was listing out qualities like, oh my god, he's smart, he's handsome, he's Asian American, he went to like this amazing school. Did you know? Was there anyone else who thought that was like so fucking weird that she just pointed that out randomly? Like, sis, like one of those is not like the others. Like, what are you talking? Like, why is him being Asian American like a quality? Like imagine I'm saying like, oh, this guy, you're gonna like this guy. He's funny. He's intelligent. He's black. He likes to draw. It's like, what? Like, I thought that was so strange. Does Natalie's character have a thing for Asian guys? Something like they don't really explore on that. And then later on, she's saying to Jimmy's character like, oh, like I did have sex with a guy from like Beijing or whatever. So I'm like, does she like Asian guys? Like, is this her type? Like. But the thing is, they don't really like they don't go back on that. They don't really like extrapolate on like, does she have a type or whatever. They just kind of like say those things and leave them there. But I don't know, I just thought that was strange. Anyway, also by the way, I was shocked that the hot guy that she saw originally, I didn't, when the friend said that he was Asian American, I was like, Asian American where? Like, I thought the guy was white, but he's Asian American. Anyway, so when Natalie's character, when Nina's character meets the mom, I'm like, okay, she's a white lady and like the father is a Asian man. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's gonna happen here. She's thinking that she's gonna meet the cute character, the cute guy, and we, the audience, are supposed to be kind of in on the joke, because when we see the parents, we're gonna be like. So here's my thinking. In my head, I assume that like the hot guy character, what's the tag? I assume that he was half Asian for some reason, because he looks half Asian to me. I assume that he was half Asian in the show as well. So I thought that like his mom would be like white or his dad would be white, and the other parent would be Asian. So I thought he'd be like half white, half Asian. So that's what I thought. So when we meet Josh's parents and we see that one is white and one is Asian, I'm like, oh, the writers are faking us out, the audience. And so Natalie's character also wouldn't be necessarily thrown off by the fact that one is white and one is Asian, because, you know, the hot guy tag looks half Asian and half white. So I don't know. I hope this makes sense. I hope this is making sense. But anyway, long story short, we come to find out that like Josh is full Asian, like he's not half white, half Asian, and that the mom is actually the stepmom. So I'm like, okay, that was sort of a you made this whole casting choice, like instead of making the mom Asian, you made a whole casting choice to make her white, so you can kind of throw us off and like kind of fool Natalie's character. But then it occurred to me that like I don't think they did that on purpose. Like I don't think that they did that to throw us off or to trick us, like, or to imply that like any character was half Asian, half white. I just think that they wanted him to have like a white wife, which I was like, okay. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they just wanted the character to have a white wife and it wasn't even that deep. I was like, okay, fine, like whatever, that's fine. Mind you, there's no flashbacks or there's no pictures of his mom or anything like that. It's just like, okay, this is my dad and like here is like his new wife. So that's it. They don't even like really attempt to talk much about the mom. I'm like, okay, fine. So then at one point when the parents are standing in the house with Josh and his girl Natalie, it's the father, the Asian father, and the white wife, the Asian son, and the white girlfriend, and they're all standing together. And I'm seeing this scene, and I'm expecting someone to make a joke or to say something like, oh, the apple doesn't fall far from the trees, or he has a taste of his, you know what I like, because the father has a white girlfriend and the son has a white girlfriend. So it's like I was expecting someone to say something. No one said anything. That these two Asian men were dating like both white girls. No one said anything about it, which I'm like, okay. Like you don't have to say anything, but like you know what I mean? Like usually someone would say something, you know what I mean? Like, oh, like, okay, the girls have a type and the guys have a type, like a joke or something. They didn't even touch it. I'm like, okay, like a little weird, maybe later. And then it gets even weirder when we find out that Josh has another brother, and then the brother comes to the house. He's full Asian, and then we see his girlfriend or his wife coming in, and I'm like, okay, like his girlfriend is like South Asian or whatever, And then I'm like looking closer at her, and then let me see. Hold up a second. I'm like looking closer at her, and I'm like, is she Asian at all? And I'm just looking up. I just looked up the actress. The actress is Iranian and Italian. So the brother's girlfriend too is white. And then I was like, there is no way. Like there is no way. There is no way that the father is dating a white girl and the two sons are dating white girls and they're all standing together. And no one says a word about it. No one says a word. No one even makes a joke. Like, I'm telling you, like, I can't believe like that no one even mentioned it. Like, no one made a little joke about how all three of them are dating white girls. Like, no one even made a joke. They didn't even say like, oh, I don't like Asian girls. They didn't say. We just started out with like all three of us just found white girls. And I'm like, okay, hold the phone here. We have to acknowledge this because this is strange. Like, statistically, this doesn't make sense. Most people date within their race. Most black people date black people. Most white people date white people. Most Asian people date Asian people. Right? So you're telling me that these three Asian men managed to find each of them a white girl? Which is, I mean, I guess it happens, but it's like, to not even acknowledge it. Like, you best believe if there was a movie with three black male characters and they were all dating white women, someone would say something. Maybe not one of them, but someone outside of that group. Like, someone would say, it would be acknowledged because it's like a little like, okay, like what's going on? But no one says anything throughout the entire movie. It's just seen as like, okay, it's like a normal thing. Which, I mean, it is a normal thing, but it's like, where are the Asian women at? Like, there's not a single Asian woman, like a young Asian woman. There's the grandma, but there's not a single like young Asian woman in this entire movie. And I'm just like, is that not a little strange? Of course, maybe they'll say like, oh, they're in Lake Placid. There's a lot of white people anyway. So like, it would be harder for them to find white girls. I mean, Asian girls. But I mean, there can be 3-4 Asian men in this movie. And you're telling me not one, like, there can't be a single white Asian girl in like Lake Placid as well. Like, not one of them found an Asian girl. When statistically people marry within their race. Like, it's like, I'm not reading into this. Like, I know I'm not reading into it because I don't want nobody in my comments like trying to gaslight me and be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Isn't that a little strange that no one even says anything about, like, no one even acknowledges it? I don't know. Call me crazy. But the reason like I noticed this so much because the same thing happens with black women, like especially dark skinned women, where you'll have entire shows like starring with like black men, for example, and they'll have every type of girl, every type of character in it except for black women or dark skinned black women. There'll be mixed women, there'll be like very light skinned black women, but there won't be any like dark skinned black women at all. So sort of like the erasure of dark skinned black women or black women in general, to be honest. So watching this movie now, and I'm like, how can, like, in the same way a movie full of black men and there'll be no like dark skinned women at all or black women at all, the same way how now in a movie full of Asian men that there's no Asian women at all and no one says anything about it. It's very sus to me personally, I think, especially because apparently both the directors or the writers of this movie are white. So it's, I don't know. But yeah, like, yeah, I don't know what these white boys were thinking when they were writing this movie, when they were casting this movie, but that's not a good look at all. That is not a good look at all. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the movie. I just had to air that out. I was just like, ooh, don't like that. Like, don't like that. Like, that's like, don't like that at all. Anyway, I hope you guys. I still think you should. I like the movie. I think you guys should watch the movie. It's a good movie. It's a feel good movie. I liked it a lot. But I don't know. That's just what I noticed, and I had to point it out. You know what I mean? Anyway, I hope you guys have a good rest of the morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever. I'll see you guys in my next video. My battery is dying, so peace out.